Good morning, hello, good evening, how are you all doing? My name is Guy and you're watching the live sessions with a GM stream, whether you're on YouTube or on Twitch. It's good to have you here on this very fine day, evening, wherever you are in the world. I see there's some people from Australia, there's some people from the US. I'm sure we're going to get some people in from Europe as well, even though it's almost 2 a.m. in the morning there, 3 a.m. even. So either way, I'm very grateful to have you here. Now, today's show is going to be a little different. We're going to be doing something that we haven't done in quite a while on today's show. But first and foremost, of course, your questions are the primary reason why we're here. The way the questions work is you are going to put the word question in caps in front of your question, and then you ask it. And you just type it up in the chat, and then you send it through. I will probably miss it because I've got the chat stream scrolling up in front of me. I've changed my layout a little bit, so I've got it scrolling up in front of me. Sometimes I'm busy answering a question and more questions come through, so then I don't answer it. Just post it again. So once you finish writing the question, Control-C, Control-A, Control-C, and then Control-V later on to just refresh it. So there we go. I see some people from Dallas, Texas. Never got to Dallas, sadly. I only got to Houston, but Houston was lovely. So there we go. Ohio. Hello, Ohio. Nice to have you here. Philly. Great to have Philly here as well. There's our very first question from White Tiger 225. The question is, two of my players want to go all Goblin Slayer and kill the feral goblins, while two of my other players want friendship for all. What is a good middle ground between the two? In my world, the ferals are only loosely intelligent and quite wicked by nature. They can be reasoned with, but are violent children, basically. Well, something that I would look at, White Tiger 225, is I would look at factions within the feral goblins. So if your party wants to kill them and your party wants to make friends with them, split them up. Have different factions within the ferals. So some of the ferals can come forward and say, no, please don't kill us. We've got something for you. And they help them complete a quest, whilst others don't and are aggressive. That gives you some interesting moral dilemmas. It gives your players some interesting conundrums. And it makes the goblins a little bit more developed than just feral violent children. That would be the first step that I would suggest you take. Now, I have also switched. That was the first question. So there we go. Let's give you an idea of how questions work. So that's how questions work. I've also switched it around recently. I had rather unfortunate medical sort of experiences. Everything is absolutely fine. So nothing is wrong, thankfully. But principally, it's because I sit all the time. So when I'm making videos and stuff, I'm always sitting. So I had to go to a neurologist at the beginning of later on in the week, and I had my very first CT scan. It's not nearly as exciting as I thought it would be. You just sort of lie there, and then they take a selfie of your brain. It proves that I have one. As the doctor said, though, it doesn't prove that I necessarily can use it just because I have one. So nonetheless, the ultimate conclusion was that I needed to stand more and sit less. So I have switched to a standing desk. So that means I'm not in a chair. I can move around, and I'm on day 2 of this, and I'm already feeling a lot more energetic. I've got more pace, more punch. My back is killing me, my feet are sore, but at least there's nothing wrong with the brain as such. Now, there's a question there from Raven. What do I need to know about Aasimar as a player? It's an interesting one that you asked that, Raven, and I hope you watch the YouTube channel, because there's a video coming out called Are You an Aasimar GM, which has nothing to do with Aasimar, so don't watch it. It's going to waste your time. Aasimar are difficult, and I would always consult with your DM first. These angelic-like fusion things, if the GM is not comfortable with them, you have to say, well, okay, I can't play them and I must back up and I must let them go. I think the other thing is to also look at it from the perspective of, well, what is their mentality to it? Do they embrace it? Do they fight against it? Those are the kinds of things that I would look at. Also, a TV series to watch, which could give you some inspiration, is Lucifer, where there is, because of this divine link, there is a certain arrogance that comes with that. I'm not sure if that's the way you want to play it, but it is an option. So there you are. That humming sound, Chance Knight saying, it makes a satisfying humming sound, the CT scan. This one didn't. It just sort of went, ooh. And that was it. And then it did it once. It's like, oh, it's not much there. One scan is enough. Moving on. So there we are. Please tell me you have a memory foam pad to stand on. Those things are game changers. I stand at work and they save my heels. I don't, but I will look at investing in one, as a matter of fact. You see, I as a lecturer, I used to lecture for 6 hours a day, so I was always standing. And in television, you stand quite a lot. You sit a lot too, but I was always standing. So sitting has been too much. So there we are. Right. Next question. Have you ever heard, or this is from Honourable 596, have you ever had a player role-playing going mad / drunk with power after artificially gaining a lot of magic, such as combining their soul with the soul of an epic level spellcaster or gaining a staff of the magi at first level? I can't say that I have. I have had players who've got god complexes because they think that they're immune and immortal and that they simply won't die, and that you very quickly solve by killing them. or by making them realize that they're not mortal. Absolutely, there's something to look at that for that perspective. In terms of god complexes, in terms of them having too much power, yes, I think players can become very arrogant and just assume that they're going to destroy everything. So then you need to change it up, and you need to show them that the world is a living, breathing space. And sure, they might be able to go through things easily enough when they're normal types of things, but yeah, you know, under normal circumstances, try and avoid giving them that. Flying Fish Bums says, what does a new DM need to know about running Curse of Strahd? Curse of Strahd is one of the only 2 adventure books I have ever run in my career, to be honest with you. And I didn't even finish running it because it was a one-shot birthday thing. And Strahd is an incredibly curious character. And the challenge that you have when you are running Curse of Strahd, why does he not kill the character straight away? The book has vagaries. Oh, he's arrogant, he's this, he's that. He's a highly, highly intelligent vampire. He is really a very, very, very smart vampire. And if he sees a bunch of party members running around and they're just slaying and killing everything and they're just causing absolute grief, that is disrupting his domain that he has been lord over for a very, very long time. So when I ran Curse of Strahd, I automatically made it that Strahd was a prisoner as well, and that he was going to groom the players to help him escape from this prison of Barovia that he couldn't get out of. Rather than see them as an antagonistic force, he saw them as an opportunity. What I do when I come to looking at adventures and looking at these kind of prescribed things is I ask the fundamental question: what is the story that's being set up for the players to explore? So Curse of Strahd is, right, they're there to defeat Strahd. That's the story that's set up. But that's an incredibly mundane story because that's what everybody expects to happen. And yes, if you're playing a module, that might be what people are there for. Oh, I can't wait to defeat Strahd. I've got so many plans and tricks and things. Okay, are you there to play the game as a story, or are you there to defeat Strahd? Because we can skip straight to the point where you have a level 10 character and you're fighting against Strahd, and we can do all of the maths, and then we get it out of your system. So if your players are there for that, then that's what you do. Work out the numbers, make sure that they're mathematically powerful and correct, and you can find lots of YouTube channels on how to do that, and then just run it. If you're there for the story, though, look for the story. What is the true story? Strahd has got so much stuff going on. There's the death of his beloved. There's where did he come from? How did he originate? Why doesn't he leave Barovia? Why don't the people of Barovia rise up against him? There are these factions that have been hinted at in the openings of the book. So plummet for stuff that you as the DM find interesting. If you're not interested, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like that. Chuck it out. There's no rule saying that you have to include it. Ghosts of Saltmarsh is an exact example of that. I was incredibly nervous going into Ghosts of Saltmarsh because it's a prescribed series of adventures. And when Wizards of the Coast said, okay, well, will you run Ghosts of Saltmarsh? I went, yes, sure, but do I have to stick to what's in the book? Because by sticking to what's in the book, there's a huge amount of pressure on you, especially if your players have already read that book. And the pressure is, do you remember to add in the sword in the crypt? Do you do the tarot card readings beforehand? Do you do this? Do you do that? Do you do the next? Oh my goodness. Can we just, how, I can't, let's just read the book. Let's just sit around the table and read the book. Because that's too much pressure as far as I'm concerned. Look for what excites you as the dungeon master. Oh, I quite like the dynamics of what's happening in the village. Okay, forget the mist wall. Forget the setting of Barovia. Go into that village and unpack that village from your own perspective, from your own dungeon master narrative. You don't want them to fight zombies in the crypt? Sure. Don't do that. Have them go fishing in the creek where they discover a dead body that rises up and eats them. There are different ways of approaching it. The fundamental of Strahd is that it is this space that the PCs find themselves trapped in. That is not difficult to fabricate. And then you can start to unpack all of the links and things that go with it. Anyway, that's I can go on and on and on and on and on for days. Dat British Mexican says, how do you deal with a sociopath PC who cares not for any NPC or life for that matter? They say they want to help people, but have offered suicidal NPCs a chance to kill them. That's a murder hobo, and I have done videos on murder hobos, to be perfectly honest with you. People who just kill everything that they come across, you should have consequences for those people. If they're killing good people, bounty hunters, lawmakers should come and find them and say, you've murdered innocents, you are under arrest and you're going to be executed. And execute that PC. Show the player that you cannot just wander around killing everything with crazy abandon. It just doesn't work that way. That's not how the universe operates. So I would look at it from that perspective. If they're trying to create like a Dexter character or a true sociopath who has no connection with other human beings, that's a different story. There again, you need to let them know that they can't just go around killing random people. They really need to understand that there are consequences. So I always look to consequences. What are the consequences? Bring in the consequences. Zach King says, I have been following your Campaign Creator series, and I have been doing much of the lore for one of the empires that occupies a small continent. Do you have tips for small village lore? Well, we're actually getting to that in the Campaign Creator series. I'm not sure how many episodes are to go. I know what's happening next week and the week after, but we are definitely looking at myths and legends, and then we look at heroes of the realm. And part of that is looking at localized heroes, because we're not going to develop heroes for the entire universe. That's insane. We're going to do it for the areas that the players are most likely to interact with to begin with, and then slowly build up a repertoire as we go from there. So we will be solving that one. We will be coming to that one. Village lore, I think village lore is always about looking at a map of the village. And that actually brings me to what we're supposed to be doing today, and I've completely forgotten because I've been answering all these questions. So, right. Now, we're gonna go to that. There's some more questions here at 20 past. So in 2 minutes, we're gonna go and do some more cool and exciting stuff. Daniel Duntavs Saunders. How many levels would a world have in lore? I'm not entirely sure what you mean there. How many levels would a world have in lore? Generally, I have big lore just for the whole world, and then localized stuff which I make up as I need, not beforehand. And yes, just remember to put question in front of, and in caps, please. It makes it stand out a little bit better. Saskmo says, how would you handle strengthening mounts for PCs who don't have paladin or ranger abilities? Do you house rule the horses or other beasts more powerful, or just ban them to avoid the problem? Now, Sarah Cheney, thank you for that donation. I do appreciate that. Now, that's a very good question. And as a matter of fact, it's a question that I'm actually having to try and solve in my own book that I'm releasing, the supplemental book to Ghosts of Saltmarsh. It was something that came up in playtesting. The mounts don't scale up. So a horse at level 1 is an incredibly dangerous opponent. It's got lots of hit points, it's got some nice attacks. By level 5, a horse is an inconvenience, and by level 10, a standard horse is just, well, I hit it twice and it dies. So how do you make sure that it does escalate and it does level up? I haven't got an answer to that. So if you are watching and you have come across a system that allows mounts to level up or to scale in a simple way, because I've got an idea in my head, but I'm not sure that it sits very well with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Well, let me ask you. So my thinking was, all right, well, what if you tiered the monster, the mount? So from level 1 to 10, its stats as written. But from 10 to 15, you double everything over 10. So by over 10, I mean, let's say that it has a +4 to its attack. Let's say, well, yes, a +4 to its attack. So you would double that. So that would become a +8. If its armor class is 11, everything above 10, you would then double the 1. So its armor class would become 12. If its armor class was, say, 16, it would then become 22, which is a bit of a big scale up. But that's what I'm thinking. And then from 15 to 20, you would treble everything. So the damage is trebled. So it's not 1d4 attack. It's now 3d4. It's still not huge. but maybe that's something to look at. Maybe that's something to look at. Anyway, that's kind of what was rattling around my head. So it's a very good, it's a good thing to think about. It's a good thing. You can just add the same hit points when you add to the character. You know, Jason S., I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, it shouldn't be something complex. It should just be, I feel it should be a simple solution, because the moment we add complexity, oh, now it starts to becoming convoluted. Again, Verfortis, my advice, allow mounts perks such as maximizing their hit points, there's barding, etc., etc. Yes, it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. I need to unpack it more. Okay, so we were talking about village lore. So hold your questions for just a little bit. Hold your questions. We're talking village lore. Now, I was introduced to a piece of software which I'm super excited about, and I'm not entirely sure if anyone else is going to be excited about it, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. They're not sponsors, don't worry. I haven't got them to sponsor anything. So the idea is it's a piece of software that allows you to create terrain and stuff. Now, behind me, this vista, which I think it's pretty cool. With butterflies and birds, and there's little dragonflies. You can't see them. There's actually fish in the water as well. I made that in about 15 minutes. I think it's super cool. Super cool. So, Shadzar, no, it isn't. The thing didn't update. I'm sorry. We can talk about Saltmarsh, but it isn't preparation for Saltmarsh. So just bear that in mind. Don't be sorry that you're late. You're here. And sorry that you can't stay. Well, we thank you anyway for that donation. That's very kind of you. Thank you. And it's a pity that you can't stay, but hey, we're going to see you at Gen Con, so there we go. The idea of mounts as a class or as a thing going up, yeah, absolutely, we can do that. Nonetheless, yes, there are too many butterflies. I realize this now. There are too many butterflies. Right, so the software is called Flowscape. Now, if you share the link to Flowscape in YouTube or in Twitch, I'll give you 50 experience points if you share the link to that. I'm just realizing I didn't have YouTube open. Wait, what? How do I go there? Oh, they've changed the interface a little bit. I love YouTube. They're so interactive. Okay, let's see. Where's the chat? Show me the chat. Maybe I'm doing too much on my computer. Flowscape. There we go. Look at that. Verfortis got it on Flowscape. Verfortis on YouTube, I should say, got it on Flowscape. Many more coming through here. I don't know who got it on Twitch. You guys will have to regulate there. I can try and bounce between everybody, I suppose. My poor computer is streaming, running, doing all kinds of crazy things. Anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about, and then you can decide. Now, hopefully this doesn't cause the whole thing to collapse, because it is memory intensive. It is memory intensive. So, oh, look at that. Thank you, Dead Aussie Gamer, for that.
It's raining gold.
We love our gold. We certainly do. Okay, so let me Alt Tab here. Boom. Oh wait, it takes my mouse away. So you're gonna see the chat for just a brief second. Flick, and no, didn't do it. There we go. All right, so this is Flowscape. Now, this is it. So I'm going to clear away the plant. So you start off with just a fundamental. You use ASWD keys to navigate around. Now, I can't see the chat, so I hope that this is interesting to you. I'm only gonna show it to you for a few minutes. Okay, I promise. So you generate terrain really simply. Now, this is the only limitation, is that you can only use their preset terrain. So they've got so much preset terrain. So what I wanted to do was to create a village. So I'm going to try and find village-like terrain. Now, this software costs $10. I don't think that's bad, personally. I really don't think that's bad. I'm going to now change the height of the terrain, so you can change how much water is present in the piece. But I didn't want it to be that. I wanted a river. A river runs through it. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go with this. I'm going to change this terrain scale. So the terrain is huge. I'm going to change the tiling. So there's lots and lots of tiling. So we're getting in all that detail. Not that that's going to be a huge thing. Snow, there's no snow because there's no, so it would just snow. I don't think the snow is working just as well as it should at this moment in time. Then the village that I wanted to make, so this is mud is quite good, I think. And then your secondary ground cover is the green stuff, so let's do that. And the riverbed, I don't mind being that. And then the mask is how does the green stuff cover the brown stuff? And you can sort of choose here. Hopefully they're going to be adding in more. There we go. That looks a bit more interesting. So now that we've got our terrain, we can plop down trees and stuff, and it's so cool how they've done this. They've positioned this as a game. But what does this mean for you as a creator, as a dungeon master, as someone who wants to create stuff? Not a hell of a lot. You can take this and export it into Arkenforge, which I believe is a map. I stand to be corrected. I actually don't know what it is. That's one of the things that in their Discord and their stream that they talk about quite a lot. So you can do that. And there is nothing stopping you, absolutely nothing stopping you from, let's just get up all the way, which is the rise button. There we go. So there is nothing stopping you from zooming all the way out, I suppose, and taking a photograph of the terrain that you've created. Now you are limited to a degree. You're limited to the view that you get. So yeah, someone who knows this better might work. So you could make maps out of this, I suppose, but the tiling starts to become very obvious in my opinion. But if you don't mind that, then that's okay. So technically you could do this as a map maker, but the assets that it has are incredibly limited at the moment. It's one person who's busy writing this, from what I understand, and that's insane. That's absolutely insane. So what I wanted to do, let's just go there. You can see that I'm not used to controlling my camera that easily. I wanted to plop a little village down here. And it's not salt marsh, although this is pretty similar if I look at it to the layout of salt marsh. That would be the mouth of the river there. So that's too wide there. But nonetheless, I want to put a little village down here. Now, we were talking about what lore can you add to a village. I will be coming back to questions, by the way, but I'm humoring me for a moment. This is me taking control. Now, you select your building. And as you can see, he's got so many beautiful buildings. I'm going to change the scale because we want the buildings to be small. There we go, that's better. Hello, you. And wrong controls. You can see why I don't fly drones. Okay, so this is the scale that I'm going to be working at. The grass is way too big, those stones are way too big, but I'm not worried about that because we're not going to see it very much. So that is something that he needs to address. Okay, so I'm going to make a little village here very quickly. I haven't used this program tremendously much, so forgive me, but look at those buildings. Aren't they just gorgeous? So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with most likely the object or structure that was first designed or first built here, and that would most likely, and I'm just going to change how they cluster and their random scale size we don't want for buildings to happen. Okay, so it was most likely a little fisherman's hut, which I've now lost. They're working on the interface, right? So let's just find that little fisherman's hut quickly. I'm on a live stream here. There we go. So most likely it was a little fisherman's hut. And the fisherman would have his little boatyard next to him, and once things started to develop for the little fisherman, maybe he invested in a bit of a lookout tower. That's very kind of you to carry that, the Duke of Doom. Maybe he built a little tower. Now, things started to progress, and someone came along and said, hey, that's a pretty good idea, actually. I think I'm going to establish, not near you, because we're good neighbors. I think I'm going to establish a house here to deal with all of your dried fish. And let's see. I'm going to need a place to stay, so I'm going to add in this little village building here. The fish started to make lots of money, so that allowed us to then, that allowed us to then build this structure here, which to me kind of looks like a stable of some kind. Again, more people moved in, and I'm going to start rotating the buildings in a little bit. But this is how I build villages and cities, and I usually kind of go through this process of telling this narrative. Now this looks like a stable yard. Those double doors there look like a stable yard to me. So that, is definitely our tavern, and our tavern is going to be the first thing you see when you arrive. Location, location, location. It is always about location, and our tavern owner, he starts to set up his own little house on the side, and our community is starting to grow quite nicely. We need some more storage, so that's going to come down here. And there's a little house for the storage person. They're building it over there. Some more houses come in, and so on. So this narrative starts to build the shape of our town. So here we go. We're now starting to encroach on that poor fisherman, that poor fisherman who originally had such a nice view. Someone realized that there's quite a nice view. This looks like a storage yard to me. So that's, we're gonna plop that down at the back down here. Oh, security, because we've had some bandits that have come in recently. They have attacked our fields. We didn't really care for that. So we're going to pop that up there. Totlich Verwuster, thank you, I think. Totlich Verwuster, I'm not sure. Anyway, so there we are. So we've got our defense there. We do appreciate that, thank you. Okay, now we start to get boats coming in, don't we? So boats wanting to start to dock with us. So that means we need some kind of lighthouse of some kind. I know it's not a lighthouse, but they built that, and then they realized, no, actually that wasn't tall enough to be able to be seen from that gulf all the way over there. And now we need to have some accommodation down here. And I don't think yet we have repeated any buildings. I don't think we've repeated. I mean, this from an asset pack from that perspective, it's absolutely insane. Okay, so now we need to have a customs and ports authority, because they're now starting to bring in. So here we're now back to the very first building. So now we've started to cycle through. Okay, well, that's not a problem, because they're going to plop that down over there, and probably we're going to put another one just there. I'm going to come and rotate these so that they completely change up. You're going to see how different it looks. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to think how these spaces would work in terms of what would they need, what would they grow, what would they develop, and then you can attach buildings to other buildings so that they start to look different from one another. I think we're definitely going to need a town square. So I'm starting to leave this space as a town square. I'm going to let you in on that little secret in a moment. So we're making it more square-like. There's another home someone else would have built down here. I do beg your pardon. Oh, we've got that one over there, so we don't want that one again. There are more houses that I can go to, so I'll have a look at that just in a little bit. Plop you there. Another little house. Oh, well, this is definitely more of a house than a structure. This looks like an industry of some kind, so they start to move down there. All right, so this is our little village, and we can play more. I'm not gonna do it. So I promise I'm not gonna do it. We can start to play more, but now we go into our controls, which I also believe is 1, 2, and 3, which I learned the other day. I love learning about new controls and stuff. So now, oh boy, ASWD, Q for a descent. Okay, so I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to 1, so I can lower him down a little bit. I'm going to go to 2, so I can just rotate it, because if you were building a house, and this is something that I think people forget, if you're building a house, river views are the important ones. So if you have the capacity to have a river view, that's what you're going to go for. You're not going to go for, oh, I'm going to point my house away from the river. Also, if we're on a square, we want the house to face the square because you're going to walk out into the square. It's the most convenient option for you. Now, I mean, we have created really quickly this, I think, quite exciting looking little town. And we're not done yet, not by a long shot. So I'm just going to lower some of these down. Now, it does, the software does try to land buildings onto the surface plane. It does. It really does. Sometimes, though, it fails. This is irritating me because I'm not good enough yet. I haven't practiced enough. Sometimes it does fail, and then you just sort of have to go and tweak it a little bit. Okay, so our little fishing village. I mean, look at how pretty that is, and we haven't done anything yet. Right. Let's quickly add in some cart stuff. So we're going to have our little town market, which we have now established. Great stuff. This looks to be some kind of market square thing. So I'm going to plop that down. There isn't a door there. No. So, oh, it's an eatery. That's what it is. It's a little table, little eatery. Well, we said that was the tavern, so that's where the horses come in. We can't really put it there. No, I think this is a pretty good spot for a nice little eatery. Here we have some wooden stages, so if we really want our buildings to sit properly, we can do that. If you're quite concerned about your building sitting on a platform and not just floating, if you think that sort of resolution is your bag. And look, I mean, it's sorted. I mean, okay, we could probably just move this out a little bit more. And there we go. I mean, I don't know about you, but this blows me away. Now, I believe if I press F, I fuck it up. So I'm going to drop down here, and now, oh, a little bit too low, There we go. Look, we're standing inside our village, looking around, and we can walk down Central Lane if we wanted to. I mean, I don't know. This just fires up my imagination, and anything that fires up my imagination gets me excited and gets me super happy. Would you please just control yourself? I'm looking for the Q button, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. Right, so we were busy populating this thing here, and okay, so we've done that. We've done the platform. There's a bit of a wooden stage thing going on here, which we could use if we wanted to. You know, if we needed a landing deck, or we wanted to change some stuff up. Again, you can spend. That looks quite nice. You can spend days on this. You really can. As you very slowly work through it. We can just add in some more stalls here. I think that's quite cute. Not too far away from the madding crowd. Oh, and look at that. Look at that. We can add in some fruits and things. I'm going to put some fruits in the shade here. Maybe we can put some on there. I'll come back to that one in a little bit. There's fish that we can add in. So, oh, and here's some drying fish stacks, which, if you recall, would probably be here, because that's our initial fisherman. And then we said we had some industry over here, so we can drop some down here. There's a flag. We don't need a flag. Oh, there's a cart. Look at that cart. That's a nice little cart. Let's put the cart, let's say there. Again, I'm going way over my time that I said I was going to work on this, but I'm having too much fun, I'm afraid. We've got some barrels, so we're going to add in some barrels here because, you know, barrels are cool. Got a single box. So this is really just too much. Got a chopping block, water block, little street lamps. How cool is that? But it's a village. They're not that far yet. There's our fishing boat that I've been looking for a wee whiley. So we're going to put a fishing boat there, and then we're going to come over down to here, where we're going to put some more fishing boats just to indicate that they are fishing boats. Okay, and then we're going to go there. I'm going to go to 2 and just rotate these around back to 1. The 1, 2, 3 keys are a godsend. When I discovered those, I was like, yes! Okay, I'm going to pitch you up a bit and rotate you around a bit. Whoa. Slow down there, Henry Higgins. Okay, great stuff. Right. Okay. I'm completely ignoring chat. That is completely evil of me. But before we leave the little village, we're going to just make it pretty. So I'm going to come in here with some trees. I'm going to make the trees a little bit bigger than whatnot. Now, this blue bubble is the zone of operation. So we're going to make it really small so we can control the placement of our trees. This is my favorite part. Watch this. Trees! Beautiful trees. Notice how the character of our structure, the nature of our little village has completely changed by just adding in a few trees. Now, they probably cut down most of the trees here, so we might have a few little trees there. I'm going to come over to this area over here, and maybe there's been 1 or 2 trees that are allowed to stand, and maybe there's one tree in the middle. What do you think? Would they have allowed that? Probably not in the medieval times. Would have cut it down for firewood, but that's what I'm going with. We're going to put some more trees down here. Let's change up the trees so we don't get bored of the same tree. Plop, plop, plop. I just love the way that they grow, and you can control how fast they grow too. So one more tree there, I think. Just some trees in there, and there you go. So this program, I mean, I don't know how long I've been doing this now for. What, 15 minutes? We're getting this amazing little village, which it inspires, and that I'm going to segue with that. So bear with me here. Oh no, that one. I'm going to go here. No, wrong thing. I'm going to go there. I'm going to come back here so I can see all of you and I can see the chat. Okay, right. SimCity trees. That is so pretty. Yes, I hope you weren't too bored while I was having fun. I really like that. And there is shrubbery. There is plenty of shrubbery. You can vary the size of everything. You can have it auto vary. You can add in flowers. I mean, I could spend easily an hour just working through that village. If you look behind me, there are different types of flowers. There are different types of trees. You can add in fish floating around. There's bulrushes. There's logs. There's stones. There's castle work. You're going to see all of this happening on the channel moving forward, because we always need a shrubbery. So there are plenty of shrubberies. So it's a lot of fun. So that is Flowscape, and we're going to come back to that little village in about 30 minutes or so. So remember that little village. Let's go back to some questions now. Jacob Ewing says, how did you find out about Flowscape? I was put onto Flowscape by a moderator in my Discord channel and on the D&D channel. Twitch channel. Aasimar, he was like, hey, have you tried Flowscape? And I went, and he went, have a look. I had a look. I bought it. I contacted everyone I could try and get hold of. It's like, can I use this? Can I do this? Can I do that? So yes, people were like, yes, super cool. That's why I want to promote it, because I think it's really an exciting project. It's an awesome project. So there we are. Okay, back to questions. Lance Pickett said, Guy, did you have some things from last week that you were going to get to this week? Oh dear God, I feel like I'm being set up there. Did I have something to do last week that I was supposed to do this week that I forgot about last week because it's this week already? Checking my notes. You're going to have to remind me. When the Hammer Falls, the song, I watched the song. It was cool. I don't know. Remind me, Lance, if there was something that I had to do. I don't know. Dylan Patterson says, how would you balance early level immortality? Similar to a lich. Wait a second, chat. Similar to a lich. How would you balance early level immortality? Similar to a lich, where you die and revive later. Dylan, I would say that could be a fun mechanic if your players are in a cloning kind of facility, if they have that advantage to come back. However, there need to be consequences. I think there should be some kind of degradation so that the players don't then just start to abuse it and just walk into a firefight, get shot 50 times and then get resurrected later on. I think it would be in your interest that each time that they reclone, they lose hit points or they lose life points or they lose memory or something along those lines to show that there is that degradation. So they can't just wander around. They might be immortal, but they have to be careful. So I think that's something to think about. Toon Dash, I'm an introvert. How do I play a character that's nothing like me in real life so I can step out of my comfort zone? How do I go about playing an outgoing extroverted character? Toon Dash, it's a very complicated question, and I have tried to answer it in some videos that I have done in the past. However, the long and short of it, I would say find a character in a film that you want to be like. So find an extroverted character, like, say, Deadpool, for example, or whomever you find to be a particular extrovert, and then mimic them. So don't you, as a person, try to become an extrovert. Unless it's something that you want to do, and that's a whole different thing, and that's a thing. But if you find a character, you say, okay, I want to be like Star-Lord from Marvel. I want to be exactly like Chris Pratt's character. Then look at how they act. Look at how they behave. Look at what they do in certain situations. Extroverts generally have a certain amount of lack of caring what others think. They and I can say this as an extrovert myself. You are an extrovert because you want to share and you're more interested in creating moments and experiences and being heard and sharing than you are in being correct or being perhaps cautious. Anyway, look at what you find to be the most attractive components of the character that you've identified and then try to emulate that. Try to mimic that for your character. So it's not you as the human that's doing it, you are pretending to be this particular individual. So that might help you. That might also give you a reference point so you can say, okay, well, in this session, when this happened, my character didn't say anything. What would Star-Lord do? He would step forward and start a dance-off. That's what he would do. So that's what my character's going to do. So it allows you to be an extrovert without having to actually put yourself out there, which I know can often be a barrier. So there you are. Right, next question. Going to sleep now. Good night. Good night. AG Silver Radio, isn't that anyway, have you ever been in a game where the party's druid was the mount? Well, yes, but that's an R18 kind of game and I'm not prepared to talk about it. No, I haven't had a case where the druid was or turned into a mount. So yeah, I haven't, to be perfectly honest with you. It's an option, but it does raise a whole lot of other problems. What if the druid stops wanting to be the mount? I'm tired of you guys loading all the gear onto me. It hurts my back. My hooves are killing me. Extra Nerdy says, are we doing the creative writing challenge today? Yes, we are. We are. It's coming up in... let's do it early. So it's coming up on the hour. Let's say it's coming up on the hour. So there we go. On the hour. Right, how do you balance flying PCs at low levels? Gummy Bear asks. Gummy Bear, I'm not entirely sure that you need to worry about balancing. There are a lot of flying creatures, sturges, little creatures like that they can fight if they themselves have the capacity to fly. Can you be more specific? So try that question with more specific sort of stuff. Cloctopus asks, does Flowscapes have any other styles of buildings? Huts, Eastern City? They have Japanese style buildings, Chinese Japanese style. It's a bit of a mixture. They've got more elvish types of stuff. I can show it to you a little bit later on when we go back there. But yes, they certainly can do that. They do have that, and then they've got a forum where they're trying to build more stuff. So they don't have any crude huts, which is a bit of an unfortunate, and they don't have any Greek or Roman stuff. So I will be asking and hounding them for those things because I love playing around with those things. Moki Dilemma says, I'm looking forward to getting into naval combat, but not sure how to integrate the party into a ship. If you're using 5th edition, Middle-Car, if you are using 5th edition, I would suggest looking at the Ghosts of Saltmarsh adventure book. again, not because they paid me to run it, but because it does contain ship combat, how to use ships, how to get the party onto the ships, and the like. It is something to look at. I am also writing an expansion book, which has gone to the playtesters. We've started to get feedback. Most of them agree that it helps improve naval combat, but there is pushback on certain things that I tried to introduce, so we're going to re-look at those and re-examine those. That's going to come out at the end of July, but you do need the Ghost of Saltmarsh book beforehand in order to be able to use the supplement, because it does rely on what they have already established there. But it is certainly something to look at. Naval combat is only fun, not only fun, naval combat is usually only fun when the party has invested and bought into the idea. So they have subscribed to the notion that yes, I'm the captain, I'm the first officer, I'm the helm, or whatever the situation might be. So bear that in mind. Zach King says, how do you deal with PCs creating and owning land? What are some of the things I should keep in mind when the PCs take charge? What are some of the external factors? Well, I would direct you to go and have a look at one of my videos called Getting NPCs to Fall in Love with Terrain. That's the wrong name. Investing in NPCs or land. Good Lord. We're busy building, by the way. And this is going to take me a very long time, so I'm nervous to say it, but we're busy building a catalogue of all of the videos that I have done so that we can look at either replacing old videos that need updating, or that the audio wasn't so good because it was the first stuff that we were releasing on the channel, but also so that we can say, oh yes, getting PCs to be involved in land. Having land is an amazing tool for you as a game master to control and to influence and affect your plot with your PCs. It really is a great option to do. So I would certainly look at it for that very reason. I will try and find it. Well, someone can try and find it. It's about NPCs and buildings, getting your PCs to love your buildings, something like that. I really do apologize. I should know that stuff. Anyway, hence why we are doing it. Angus Boys asks, will that ship supplement be an official WotC property, or will it just be on the site DMs Guild? At the moment, Angus, what we're doing is we're looking at it. I'm speaking to WotC about that. It won't be an official product. They didn't task me to write an official supplement. It might, and most probably will not, be on the DMs Guild, because it's not just a supplement. It's not just here's some more rules. It is, again, this is the cover. Let me show you the cover, and maybe that will make more sense of the situation. Give me a second here. We're expanding it as usual because the channel is not just about here's some rules. We don't really like rules on the channel. It's more along the lines of here are some ideas on how to run naval combat, how to run aquatic adventures, underwater adventures, and these are the ways in which we would suggest you do it. So this is I didn't turn it on. This is the cover that we have floated around, and the only reason why at the moment, let me stand over here, the only reason why at the moment we are uncertain as to where it's going to land is because of this thing, which I actually can't point at. The red banner requires the Dungeons and Dragons Ghost of Saltmarsh Adventure book. We are talking with WotC now in terms of, okay, can we put that there? Because it does require it. You have to have that supplement. I don't recreate the rules as written. I have rewritten some of the rules from the Ghost of Saltmarsh supplement to make ship combat more interesting from my perspective as a dungeon master. But there are certain things, it's like, well, in the Ghost of Saltmarsh book, there are rules for holding your breath. Go find them there. So legally, from a South African perspective, we have to put that there. Will WotC allow us to do it or not? That's the next question. So there you go. It's a bit of insight into the trials and tribulations of creating a book. Whatever it is, it will be available on our website along with the other book, Complete Guide to Creating Epic Campaigns. So there we are. Right, next, how are we doing for time? Yeah, we got some time. Next question is Mark McKinnon says, any advice on running World of Darkness Mage the Ascension campaigns? I have never played World of Darkness. The closest I came, and I stand to be corrected that this isn't even World of Darkness, is that I have played Vampire. The Vampire, I think, was the one. It was Vampire, Mage, and Werewolf. That all falls into the World of Darkness thing. I think. To me, it is about looking, again, I mean, this doesn't matter whether it's World of Darkness or whether it's Star Wars or Star Trek. It's about trying to find the flavor. So when you look at Cthulhu, people often go, oh, Cthulhu, it's going to be a giant old one. We're all going to go insane, and that's it. To me, that's a very limited scope. It's a very limited scope. One should look at what's the idea behind it. And the idea behind it is the unknown, and that the unknown is so terrifying. So World of Darkness is that there is this undercurrent, that there are these ancient lineages that have been running. I would turn to things like Underworld, the film, with Kate Beckinsale in it, simply because I think those were the closest that we're ever going to get to seeing modern day versions of that. And then they kind of did some of the old fantasy stuff too. So yeah, World of Darkness, again, it's about, as far as I'm concerned, the relationships between the characters. So if you look at Werewolf, if you look at Vampire, if you look at the Mages, it's the relationships that define them much more than you have in fantasy. Fantasy, just generic Dungeons and Dragons. Everybody's a mage. You're a mage, you're a mage, you're a mage, you're a werewolf, you're a vampire. Sure. They're common. Very, 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 very common. On the other hand, if you look at World of Darkness, it's this elite space. At least that's my impression of it, but it could be an uneducated one. So there you are. Right, next question, probably the last question I'm seeing here. Silver Radio says, what is the health bar in the bottom left about? Okay, so that was, we were running donations to get the Web Goblin, who's the behind the scenes guy, to the States, to Gen Con, which is where I will be this August. If you're in Indianapolis, come to Gen Con. We'll be there. We would love to meet you. Now the health bar is basically whenever someone donates to the channel or subscribes to the channel, this health bar moves down. It defeats the current monster. The current monster is Dead Aussie Gamer. He gave us $10 at the beginning of the stream. We're very grateful for that. Thank you. But yes, super chat donations, Twitch bits and subscriptions knock that bar down. I do this as a full-time occupation, so your support supports me to be able to make more stuff and find more stuff and talk about more stuff and answer questions and do all that kind of stuff. So I am exceptionally grateful for anybody who contributes. I really, really, really am. It blows my mind that I'm in this particular space, to be perfectly honest with you. Last question before we go on to creative writing is TWG49. How can my character, a 12-year-old, interact with the adults in a tavern? Kids are very difficult. Very, 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 very difficult. I would advise you have a look at the Broken World Chronicles, which was airing on the Twitch channel that I run, Great GM. There we had a character who was running a youngster. And the challenge, of course, is that you're treated as a child. So in a tavern, a 12-year-old, if it's traditional medieval time period, by 12 or 13, you could drink beer. That wouldn't be an issue. But if your fantasy setting is more like Game of Thrones, which has got modern day mentality attached to it rather than historical mentality attached to it, as a 12-year-old, you'd be given a glass of water or a glass of milk. How do you interact with people at a tavern? I would interact with them as a child. Now, a very interesting show to watch and unpack and to see how that plays out is if you watch Star Trek The Next Generation season 6, or I want to say 6 or 5, there was an episode called Rascals. And in that, the adults were changed down into 12-year-olds. And you can see how they interact with the adults to their advantage. Those 12-year-olds were 12-year-olds from the 1990s or 1980s. It would be in early 90s. So they're very unsophisticated 12-year-olds in comparison to what our 12-year-olds are like today. But nonetheless, it's something to think about. Definitely something to think about. Kids are tricky, and make sure that you don't cross certain lines of what kids should and shouldn't do. That's appropriate as well. that is something to bear in mind. Okie dokes. No more questions for now. Hold your questions. We will come back to questions. We will come back to questions. So do not fear. We will come back to questions. I promised you creative writing. Creative writing is what we're going to be doing. Well, it's what you're going to be doing, and I'm not. Creative writing. We look at, for those of you that are new to the channel, creative writing is an opportunity for you guys to stretch yourselves, to try different writing techniques or ways of thinking that might help inspire you to develop a character or an NPC. Any time that you spend thinking about something arbitrary, but that's in a creative way, is good time spent. Because as a dungeon master, as a player, you are constantly thinking about story, you're thinking about trying to recreate something that doesn't exist. APC O'Neill, that is amazing. Thank you. You are our new monster to beat. I truly appreciate that. I really do. So, creative writing is an opportunity for you to try something new and to try and stretch something and to try and do something that you haven't done before necessarily. So what that does is that brings me to what we've been talking about today and what we've been showcasing today. Oftentimes people say to me, "Oh, how do you make a city? How do you make?" There was a question today. How do you make the lore of a village? How do you do this? How do you do that? Sometimes it's difficult. I usually start with a map. I start by looking at a map and I try and work out what a village would be, why it would start, where it is. But there are times when the map doesn't necessarily take you far enough. And that's what gets me so excited about Flowscape. Now, I promise you, they haven't sponsored me. I know I keep going on about it, but it really is an exciting tool for me. And the reason is my background is I used to be a 3D animator. So I can make all of the elements in the background. I did the training, I did the thing, and I did the thing. It would take me days. Here I have a piece of software that allows me to do it in 15 minutes. Is it irritating that it doesn't have all my bits and pieces? Anyway, I digress. Sorry. The creative writing challenge is, I want you, and I'm going to try and do this again. I can't do it slickly because the assets in Flowscape are so big that it just takes over your computer. You're going to look at this village. And in this village, sorry, I can't put my hand in my pocket. In this village, choose a building or a location. Anyone. Choose a building or a location. Every single one of these buildings, like this floating staircase building here, I'm going to fix that quickly because it's irritating. Every single one of these buildings has got a story. There is definitely someone or something who was involved in this building. What's the story? This is lore. We were talking about how do you come up with lore for buildings and things. Well, this is how you do it. Choose a building. I'm going to rotate. I got sidetracked. I did. But I wanted to just finish this off so it looks nice. Choose a structure in the village and give me, just very briefly, an incident that happened here. So, for example, in this tower with its beautiful little lead-lined windows right at the top, giving us a pretty good view of the whole of the village as well as most of the surrounding territories. In this particular tower, there lives... What lives there, I wonder? Wow, 002. Thank you for that. That is absolutely amazing. You're the new boss, and I don't think you're going to get knocked off for a long time. In this building, there lives a individual who has lots of money. They moved to the village, this little village, because they wanted to get away from the hubbub of the main town, which is just over there. It's just beyond the hills, about 5 miles distant. Now, this particular individual has lots of money. Enjoys the quiet life. They pop around to the Hog's Head Tavern over here, which sits above the stable yards, and they have a quiet drink every single Tuesday. Until one day, they didn't. And they didn't because they were seen standing in the middle of the river, on top of the water. All of their gold had been laid out in front of them on the field, directly in front here, in this big patch. And Thank you for that, Platypus 1130. I do appreciate it. This is crazy. This is lovely. Thank you, guys. In this patch, all of their treasure had been laid out. And as the villagers watched, the sun slowly started to set. The sun slowly started to set. Where the hell's my sun? It's over there we go. As the sun started to set over the distant hills on the other side of the river, everybody watched as this mysterious figure slowly sunk into the water and vanished, never to be seen again. The gold was gathered up by the villagers, and in memorandum they planted this tree in the centre of town to remind themselves of the growth and prosperity that was inspired by the individual who lived in that tower. So there's a story. I don't know where that came from. It might be a good story. It might not be a good story. It's an interesting one because the players can now discover that there is this weird nymph creature that lives in the water, and that the individual who lived in the tower had lied about coming from the city, but actually was a nymph from the river who was lonely and just wanted the companion of the villagers. Something like that. So it's up to you now to create a story. Choose a building. You can just sort of say the building with the blue tarpaulin in front of it, or one of the stone towers, one of the wooden towers, the little cottage on the far right hand side. We'll try and sort of identify it as best we can. And give me the story. Give me the story. Maybe it's the story of this villager's hut. Maybe it's the story, and I saw this prop now, so I'm going to just quickly go and find it. Maybe it's the story of the person who lives in this little tent. So they've got a little tent. Maybe it's that story. Maybe it's the story of the bridge that was built that never went anywhere. I don't know. You tell me. You give me your stories and we'll read them out and we'll see which one works. Try and be as creative as you can. I'm going to stick on this page behind me so you can see the village whilst you are writing. I'm going to try and work it into something a bit more interesting. To make this little village seem more alive. Put some woodwork down there and put that there. What's that? That's a tombstone. Oh, we can put a graveyard in here somewhere if we wanted to. If they did have a graveyard, it would probably be a little distance away from the village. I'm not going to do a graveyard. Okay, so are you writing? I hope you are. Let's see. I can see some stuff here. The guard in the tower at the back often pines after the bartender's daughter. I like it. A feeble old lady living... I can't see the names. I think it's Alex, something like that. A feeble old lady living on the third floor of a tall structure sees a burglary occur on the street, but no one hears her cries for assistance. It's a story of a lovely lady who was bringing up 3 young lovely girls. Each of them had hair of gold like their mother, the youngest one in curls. It's a story of a man named Brady who was bringing up 3 boys of his own. I see. So when you start to have visual aids like this one, for example, and I'm not for a moment saying, okay, well, every time you're about to run a session, quickly go and rebuild the entire village. That would be absolutely insane. What I'm suggesting, though, is that you find a picture. There's nothing wrong with finding a picture and saying, actually, that inspires me to think of this, or it inspires me to think of that. So I'm just busy putting in the last of the docks here. So this feels more like a fishing village. Let's see some other options coming through. The fishermen on the western bank. Wait, what? It updated. Damn it! I'm gonna have to come back to these. All right. I'm gonna very briefly go to the chat so that I can enjoy some of these stories that have been coming through. I don't know if we need these stairs here anymore, actually. All right, so we're going to leave you, little town. Alt-tab gets me out of that, so I can go here. And I have to minimize that. Okay, so let's see. The little tent belongs to a young man who fled his hometown to this small village. This is from Kate Anchon. He had hoped to bring his lover with him, but the night they were to join him, She never came. Interesting. Interesting. So now there's a potential plot. You come across this little tent. There's this man sitting there. He looks forlorn. He's holding a lock of hair. He wants his beloved. Why didn't she come to him? What prevented it? There's a quest straight away. Absolutely straight away. The guard tower at the front of the village is actually a group of bandits that the fishermen paid to, instead of steal from them, they take tribute and protect the city. They steal extra gold, however, says Zach King. I like it. I like it. So the town is basically run by these thugs who use extortion, pay us or we're going to rob you. We're going to rob you anyway because you can't stop us because we're the only authority. How would that play out? The PCs could have to try and dethrone them. I think that could be a lot of fun. The town is empty because mer people came up the river and killed all the humans, says Alan Robinson. Aha, TWG49. Thank you for the cheer. So, merfolk killed all the humans, eh? I quite like that. Chance Knight, the innkeeper's daughter. Well, lost it. The innkeeper's daughter is looking to escape before anyone finds out she killed the fisherman. So she looks to disguise herself as a vagabond's lover. Tying them all together. I like it even more. The larger residence near the tower is owned by a political exile. He and his wife tried to lord it over the townsfolk who just laugh. Strange lights are seen once a full moon. Zombie pygmy, that was from Sarah Cheney, by the way. Alan Robinson, another option. Zombie pygmy goblins have washed downriver when a dam broke. And lost it when a dam broke. Damn it. Okay, so there was a break. I like it. Oh, they've been extorting the innkeeper, whose daughter turned to witchcraft to try and stop it. Now the plot thickens. Tiny house nearest the water. An elderly half-elf lives practicing medicine using herbalism taught from them from the time they were the elves. A young apprentice went missing whilst harvesting dawn bells and hasn't returned. I really do like that. I do like that. When he showed the local builder, saw LG's plan for a 3-story tower, he thought LG was mad. But LG assured him that buildings in Iklet City were like this. Absolutely. So now what I'm going to pick up on that one. I quite like that one. Now that one was from Twitch, and there's a reason why. APC O'Neill, good grief. Let me just see there. Thank you so much for those. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Thank you. I'm in the wrong thing here. I'm in the wrong thing. APOC, I don't think you are ever going to get knocked off of that post. An NPC created an underground fight club to show off his skills. As his fame grew, so did the opponents' fewer. Soon he had to capture opponents to keep his fights going. I do like that option. That is a super cool option in terms of how to really get the PCs involved. That's my doorbell for my bench. I will be back. You guys hold on for just a second. Okay, I'm back, and I have my new chair to sit. Well, it's a bench stool thingy. Anyway, I hope you continued to create awesome stories in my absence. Let's see. What was I going to pick up on? I was going to pick up on the idea that that the thing, and it's gone out of my head. Damn it. Off the Tempest wrote about the tower that should never be built higher than 3 stories. Now, that seems to be, on the surface, you kind of go, well, that's a bit mundane, isn't it? I mean, okay, it's an architectural problem. Is that a role-playing problem? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, it is. Imagine now if the PCs are all level 1, and the builder comes to them and says, oh, look, I need your help, all right? There's this crazy idiot, LG's a new obnob from town. He wants me to build a freaking 3-story high building. But I know the timber I've got is not going to hold up. Tell you what, I'll pay you a gold per tree trunk that you identify of a particular type of tree. It's called ironwood. Now, you'll find it in the forest just yonder. Get me 10 trunks, mark them with these red ribbons, and he hands them red ribbons, and I'll give you a gold trunk. How about that? Easy money, just wandering around in the forest. Off they go into the forest to find ironwood, only to discover that ironwood is actually a living wooden tree creature. And so now they have to figure out the dilemma of, do they cut down the wooden trees? Do they tie a red ribbon around them? What do they do? So many options, so many choices, so many thoughts. So no option that you come up with, no matter how redundant it might feel, is an opportunity lost. And that's what I like about this. That's what I really like about this. The underground fighter, of course, is a really cool idea. The merfolk is really cool. The merfolk could be, I see Verfortis says, what if the merfolk were the extorters? The innkeeper's daughter turned to sorcery. She learned how to control them out of revenge. This seems like a story that's growing. I kind of like it. So there's some interesting things happening there. Right, okay, so now that you've got your basic story, you'll see that I've been trying to twist them to now turn it into an adventure. When you remember the 4 basic adventures, you then start to say, okay, cool. So I'm going to take another example here. Don't Let Me Down. Troabarton69 says, the tree in the center of town is haunted by a ghost of a young woman. Lost it. The ghost of a woman who died waiting in the cold one winter for her lover to take her away, but he never showed. So does she only manifest during winter, I would assume? How do we turn this into a story? Oh, very, very simply. We could say, okay, it's a collection mission. Maybe we need to go and collect the lover. Maybe she was waiting and then she realized she was waiting at the wrong spot. And that her lover might very well be waiting at the spot where they were supposed to meet. But in her excitement, she forgot that they changed the location. So if the party goes to the spot where her lover was supposedly waiting for her, they might be able to find a locket or a trinket or something, because this was years and years and years ago. And if they do, then her soul will be at rest. And if they don't, she's going to continue to consume the soul of the firstborn child born in winter in perpetuity. The party goes out to find this thing. They find the frozen remains of this young lover who is also a ghost. They return that, and you have this wonderful ghost love story that plays out. That's on that one. A delivery option could simply be to take the remains of her body and deliver them to her lover in the next village over, who has now been living with his wife and that sort of thing. So they have to dump this bag of old moldy bones on his table. The ghost manifests, and she comes and attacks. 002 game mining. I really do appreciate. That's just mind blowing. Thank you for that donation. That's really, really awesome. So yeah, you know, it's about just looking at it and saying, okay, how do we tweak, how do we twist, how do we change? Why isn't it showing up in chat? So I can see if you asked a question. You know, there are all of these options. Here's another one. A couple of men went out to find some wood from the town during the winter. They returned with a strange woman, and when they are found the next day, they are found dead, and a note on their bodies saying, "Pay tribute, or there will be more." Interesting. Who's the strange woman? What is more to be paid? We have to figure out these things. So this here automatically just suddenly drops a whole bunch of questions. Who's the woman? What's the tribute? Why are more people going to die? How can they stop people from dying? All of these things are really, really exciting options from, and I hope you can see, it's from just looking at a map or a drawing or an image and going, okay, there is that. I love these options that are coming through. They are absolutely amazing. And then by applying one of the 4 adventure types, it's like, oh, bingo, easy. The butterflies transmit zombie plague. Oh dear, there we go. Kill all the butterflies. Oh my. It's a great idea. Zombie infected butterflies. Of course, there needs to be a giant butterfly monarch somewhere that's controlling them all from the forest. And when they beat their wings, there needs to be hurricanes happening somewhere. But yes, nonetheless. So, wonderful options. And do you see how very few of them are repeats of each other? That means we've got stories for days. For days. We could release our own adventure book on all of the adventures that come out of this one little village, this sleepy little village which started off as a single little hut on the side of a bank of a river and is now turned into this lich butterfly undead thing with merfolk ravaging the water, blackmailing bandits in a tower, giant tree monster things, who knows, ghosts, lost lovers. All of that out of one little town. We really don't need to develop worlds for our players to play in. We just need to look at a town and just go, what's happening there, what's happening there, what's happening there, what's happening there, what's happening there. Okay, enough of creative writing. I hope that you had as much fun as I did. A cult of river elves wander into town and begin worshipping the merfolk that are controlled by the adjacent S. Just continuing to build on that story. There we go. Right, okay. Enough on the creative writing. Oh yes, and then the Fight Club, which doesn't get talked about. So I don't know how we talk about it, but anyway. Right. We're going to go very quickly before we come back to questions. We're going to finish off the show on questions. But we're now moving into an opportunity. Actually, no. Let's do questions until the half hour. So if you have questions, now's the time to bring them. Let's discuss. Let's talk. Let's unpack. Ask your questions. And what I'm going to do, if I'm smart, which is not often, I'm going to move this window there. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to create a recursive loop for a second. And then do that. And then do that, and then I can see your questions whilst carrying on to build the village. Yay! Modern tech for the win. Right, so there's a question there straight off the bat. Vinci Denahar says, how would you integrate Yugoloths into a material plane economy? Say, for example, the party bargains with a stockbroker Yugoloth. What repercussions would you throw at them? Such specific questions they ask. I need to find out what a Yugoloth is. I have a vague idea what a Yugoloth is. I want to say... Well, let's take it back a little bit. Instead of looking at specifically Yugoloths, what about anything that comes from a different plane? Mind flayers, Githyanki, extraplanar creatures. Let's just look at it from that perspective. How does the economy change? How do things get influenced by suddenly having this portal to another world? It's a very complicated question that you're going to have to look at in terms of, well, if this individual can get through, why can't others get through? And then what is the impact on the economy? Is it suddenly that astral diamonds are something that are not so rare? A king who controls a vast kingdom should be aware, I would imagine, of trade opportunities. You know, this is something that irks me sometimes, is players go, well, the king isn't very high level. Well, why not? They're the king of an entire nation. They probably know about trade routes with secret organizations that you haven't even heard of yet. And they would need to know that if their kingdom was to have any kind of value or longevity. So I find it funny sometimes when people say, well, you know, monarchs are just monarchs. I don't know very much. No, they do. They should anyway. Anyway, that's just me. So how would I handle those kinds of things? Again, I would look at the implications, what's being traded, how much is being traded, how expensive, how rare, those kinds of things I would certainly look at first and foremost before going anywhere else. So that would be my answer there. M. Drummond says, I have to leave 2 tables I am playing at for a couple months. Should I find a way to excuse my characters or make new ones? I think that's entirely up to you. I would be of the opinion that it would be better to make new ones. And this is my reasoning. Your old character may return anon saying, "Hey, how's everybody doing? You know, I was with you guys, and then we kind of split ways because of life and that kind of stuff." That can work, but they're also going to have a huge amount of history now, which your character doesn't have. So you might feel a little bit like an outsider in your own kind of group, if that makes sense. So by having a new character, that is to a degree mitigated. Because, oh, well, yes, it is a new character, so they don't know the history that the other character used to know or used to be part of. That would be my suggestion. That would be my suggestion. Tony Butcher asks, you did a video about brainstorming for a one-shot in Tokyo using D20 Modern. What video was that? I can't find it. Remember that catalog I was talking about? We really need to develop that. The only brainstorming about a one-shot I can think of, to be perfectly honest with you, was the map that I drew for that. I really don't know. I really don't know. We'll have to look at that. If anybody knows, I'll give you 1,000 experience points to spend on character development. So there we are. Have a look at that. Next question. I love pineapple pizza. I am drinking pineapple juice mixed with water, but nonetheless. Any more questions? What is this program, says Daniel Duntavs Saunders. This is Flowscape that I'm working in and having an absolute blast in Flowscape. You can pick it up. You can find it readily available online. Just look for Flowscape. It's there. And yes, what an awesome program. I must admit, I really am enjoying playing with it. As you can see, it's like I'm doing a live stream, but I'm also playing Flowscape because I like Flowscape. I had hoped to do that, but it's not going to work. That might work in that direction. No, I just need good old plain brown stairs to get down to the ships. Okay, next question. I know I'm losing focus here. Thank you for that, White Tiger, sharing the link there. Have two of them fall in love like Romeo and Juliet? Okay, not sure. No more questions. Ask me questions. I promise I'll remember. Social MMO speed dancing. I like it. How do you sell your tabletop RPG group in order to find more players, as in getting people hyped to join your game? I've actually just done a video on that. It will come out into next week, maybe, or the week after, depending on the Web Goblin's choice. He chooses which videos of mine go out at which time, based on his little goblin algorithms. There is a video that details how do you sell your campaign idea to your players, and how do you make sure that it works. I would also recommend, and I have to do this simply because it's software that is part of our YouTube channel. If you head on over to www.rpgtablefinder, it's free. You can create a table that is looking for players. So you can go and say, well, this is the type of game that I'm running. I want this game. You know, this is the idea. This is the thinking. Does anyone want to join my table? So you can actually run stuff there. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that's coming out this week, as a matter of fact, on that. So yeah, that is definitely something to look at there. Next question. How do you keep... Assassin Red 42 says, I've gotten into playing Cyberpunk 2020. Do you have any advice on how to make interesting NPCs interact with the characters without making them feel overpowered? Well, that is an interesting one. I think that any cyberpunk setting, whatever the system that you're using, is bound to have the challenge, obviously, of difficulty, because you're dealing with firearms, and firearms are quite an equalizer in terms of a level 1 character using a firearm versus a level 10 character using a firearm. They do the same amount of damage. Level 10, of course, can survive longer because they have more hit points or stamina points or whatever your system might be. Some systems do level up the weaponry themselves, which can work. Starfinder is an example of that, where your weapons literally level up or are different levels and you can access them. Those can work as well. I generally avoid those. It just seems a bit weird. So, yeah. Zocarbayalis says, How do you as a player deal with a real jerk of a DM that keeps singling out your character? Well, Zoe, I have started to adopt a heavy hand at this particular question because we get it so often. It's very sad, but we get it a lot on the channel. And the answer to that is find a new DM. Speak to your fellow players first. Speak to them first and say, okay, cool. This is. Do you guys feel the DM is singling me out? Do you feel that I have been justified in being singled out? Do you think that the GM doesn't like me? Be honest. Ask them to be honest as well. That's the only way you'll truly know the answer to your question. And if they say, well, actually, yeah, you can sometimes be a bit annoying, or I mean, if you've got good friends, that's what they'll tell you. So yeah, if you toned it down a little bit, maybe it would be better. But ultimately, if you're at that point where you're like, oh, they're singling me out, they don't like me, or he doesn't like me, or she doesn't like me, it's time to find a new group. It really is. There's no point in torturing yourself to try and figure out what's going on. And there is certainly no point in trying to appease that GM. If they're pulling that kind of shenanigan, I suppose you could call it, it's already too late. Yeah, so that's my opinion. Unicronify says, what do you do to find your spark again when it dwindles? I've lost my mojo. No, man, that's terrible as a DM, and I want to get it back so badly. Has this ever happened to you? Yes, it has. Oh my word. This was way before I started the channel. I used to DM only one group a week, and I got to the point where I was like, why am I doing this? Because my players were letting me down. My players would arrive and they would be disinterested, or they'd kind of go, nah, nah, nah. For me, that just ruined the entire experience. It really did. So yeah, it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. And I realized it was my players. It was my players who did it. That looks terrible. I think it's that one. Control to delete them all. Control right click. Okay. Yeah, so to get your mojo back, first thing I would step away and I would say, okay, what is it, or what was it that drew you to playing in the first place? What inspires you to run your games? What did you love about it? And then I would then do that. So if you loved the freeform nature of gameplay, or the fun times of creating strange scenarios, create that. Go and do that, and find players who want that as well, who are willing to give you what you are looking for. Don't try and find things that your players are looking for and give that to them. I think that for me is one of the immediate causes of burnout, is where you are trying to satisfy somebody else's desire rather than your own. You are the game master. You are there to tell a story to the people, to your players. And if you're not interested in the story, they're not going to be interested in the story either. And that just creates a horrid recursive loop of everybody's unhappy, nobody knows why, and yeah, eventually no one wants to play. And that is terrible. That is absolutely terrible. It's very, very sad when that happens. Is this going to give me... Is it the whole... Oh, thank goodness. Okay. So, yeah, right. I hope that sort of answers your question to a degree. I don't know why this barrel's separate. Anyway, it's fine. Ow, come here. Yeah, okay, we can leave the barrel there. So there's our little docks forming. Next question. How are we doing for time? Yeah, okay, we're good. Vinci Danaha says, well, more opinion. How do you feel about using variant human to differentiate between different human kingdoms and tribes? Examples, the people of the north gain survival skill and the tough feat. Absolutely. Absolutely. I am... I beg your pardon. I am absolutely of the opinion that without a doubt, having your own custom races is an awesome way to go, provided that you've balanced them. So for Ghosts of Saltmarsh, I did not have access to all of the books and all of the new races that kept getting made. So I made my own aquatic elves and merfolk and even lizard folk for that matter. And what I discovered when I released the players were like, oh, that's kind of cool, I like that, but that's too powerful, that's not powerful enough, etc., etc., etc. Sure, fine. So yeah, definitely create your own, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. Create your own. Super cool option, absolutely super cool option. Cloctopus says, I'm running L5R, the Samurai RP, yeah, and have set up a conflict between two rival clans, Mantis Clan versus Dragon Clan. Sorry. I need some twist at the center. What can I surprise them with? Interesting. Rivalry between two clans could be for various reasons. And of course, the immediate ones are another clan has set the two up to fight one another. It could be a stolen relic. Something that could be quite interesting is the reverse Romeo and Juliet. The leader of the one clan hates the leader of the other clan with such an absolute passion that they refuse to get married until one of them beats the other to determine who is going to be the ruler of the clan. It could be something as simple as that. No, we absolutely love each other, but we're not willing to settle down until she agrees that I'm going to be the leader. I love him to death, but I will not be his second. He will be my second. So the twist could be something, something like that. That's something different. Just playing around with the theme. I don't know. Just a thought. Clan envy, absolutely. Could be clan envy. Zach King. How do you handle an empire organization that has a negative disposition or sense of superiority towards other races? Other than dragonfolk and human, slavery exists to the stronger races. Yes, absolutely. So how do you handle an empire and organization that has that? Well, I would firstly make it very clear to the players beforehand. So don't let them just wander into the kingdom and suddenly discover, oh, what? Elves hate all humans? I thought it was orcs. Aren't we all now happy people? No, we're not. Okay, sure. We hate orcs now. Okay. Let them know beforehand, because otherwise they're going to feel very disenfranchised when suddenly they're getting attacked for no reason whatsoever. And they're like, but. Yeah, so definitely set that up in your pre-game info, whatever you want to call it. Let them know that is something that could entirely happen, and that they should be aware of it, so that they don't get flustered by it, basically. How do I go down? Oh, wrong key. Is this too distracting? I think it's distracting. I am getting distracted. Where the hell is the bloody down key? When your hand is in the wrong place, you're like, I know it's that key. Yes, but you're not pressing that key, are you? What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to get up, stop. Pan across a little bit. I want to take a snapshot of this village. I want to put some garden in here. Okay, next question. Let's see. Where are we now? How are we on time? Okay, we're okay. We're going to do YouTube channel in 2 minutes. Jason S. Is it alright to buff up monsters such as goblins for an adventure? Example, Goblin Paladin Warlord. Absolutely. It's perfectly fine. A Goblin Paladin Warlord sounds awesome. A Goblin Paladin Warlord would also probably train his fellow goblins to fight better, so they would have better stats, without a doubt. Do not feel that at any point you need to stick to what is written. Go ahead, expand, make them bigger, make them more exciting, make your players go, what? That's what you want. Last question from Morgan M. Master species abandons their slave species and retreats back to their homelands. Campaign to take place in the slave species lands. Does that spark anything interesting with you? It resonates in terms of sort of the situation that happened in Africa where you have the empires now withdrawing from control over the African nations, and the African nations sort of being left to their own devices to a large degree to try and figure out how to survive. So there's definitely sort of that comes to mind. Is it something that's interesting? I'm not sure. Talk to me about what is the technology available? What is the threat to this race or to this slave race? Or do they have to rebuild entirely? Do they have some limited tech left behind? What is the situation basically? Give me the sit rep. The setting could be interesting. Sure, it's people. It's surviving. I can get behind that. I can understand that that's a thing. I don't know why there would be a garden right here, but I think it's pretty. Yeah, I would want to see a little bit more in terms of what are my adventure options. What are we trying to build? So we're at the fallen space. Now what? What now happens? So just give me some insight into that. I just want to show you guys before we get anywhere. This is my favorite function. We want to add some random rocks, right? Because these rocks look very flat. So we press the rock button. And you can't really see them, but it's dropping rocks all over the place. So you're adding random pieces of geometry just to break it up. Anyway, that's just me geeking out over a pretty cool piece of software. Let's add some branches here. If this was an abandoned village, this would make a lot more sense. Right. Question. From creating races from the ground up, would you suggest working on lore and history of the race before inputting stats and abilities? This is from Grizzes. It's an interesting question. Where do you start? I always start with the lore. So where do they come from? How did they get there? Where did their sentience come from? Who trained them up? What are their relationships like? They have a tail. How do they use that tail? What does that tail do? So those are for me, questions that you need to answer way before you even start designing the stats. Because once you go, okay, so they're a species, they're dedicated to literature and to art, those kinds of things, right. Their intelligence score is probably going to be higher. Doing it the other way around is kind of like trying to I don't know, it seems to be trying to go putting the horse before the cart type of thing. That's my thinking. All right, something that we always do on the channel. So we're going to leave now Flowscape, the software that I was using, the software that's behind me, to create that very pretty village, I think. We're going to leave that now so I can close it so my computer stops having an aneurysm, because it does take up a lot of resources. And we're going to go into YouTube videos to watch. So these are YouTube videos that you should be watching, or that you should look at and go, well, I'm glad I didn't watch it and that he did, because it didn't waste my time. So the first person to post up the link in the YouTube video gets, I'm feeling generous, gets 150 experience points. Okay, so that's on both sides. You can have a look at that. So the first channel to have a look at. He's a friend of mine, so I don't have any issues promoting him. I like his work. XP to level 3. How to play fighter. It's so much fun. I don't know, Zombie, this is not that link. Surely it's not that link. If you're that quick, I take my hat off to you. XP to level 3, how to play fighter. It's a really cool, really fun exploration. Very basic too, by the way. If you've been playing Dungeons & Dragons for a long time and you're kind of familiar with it, sure, you might find it's like, okay, all right, I know all of this stuff. But just so much fun to watch. The sort of the craziness that he gets involved in. M. Drummond, I think, got there first. I'm not sure. Anyway, really fun thing just to look at, and sort of sometimes also get a different perspective on things when you see the way that he presents it. I was looking at it and I was going, if I did YouTube videos like that, firstly, I would need to have a lot more resources than I do have in Tokyo. Like a backyard, for example, would be nice, or a park nearby would be nice. Any sort of greenery really would be nice. But there's lots of running and screaming and shouting. I could have done it in South Africa, but I didn't. So anyway, I find his youthful enthusiasm awesome for inspiring me. And we were talking a little bit earlier about how do you get your mojo back. Well, it's also by watching those videos and going, oh, I would never do that. Complete waste of time. Or, yes, I would do that. And I think that's fun and that's something exciting, and we can go there and we can have a look at that. So that's XP to level 3, how to play fighter. The next one, Zeba Shaw, Clone, animated spellbook, Clone. Zeba Shaw, animated spellbook, Clone. Clone is a really powerful spell, and he raises a very good point. When villains are defeated, are they really defeated? Clone, Soul Jar, there are so many things. Now, of course, these are all in Dungeons and Dragons, so you get all of that kind of stuff coming through. I like the animation. I thought it was quite fun, and I like the little setup with the creature that killed him, or at least the story that unfolds. I should say, not the creature that killed him. The story that unfolds for that. So, M. Dramon, I think, getting it again on YouTube first. So, ACP O'Neill. Wow, there we go. Thank you. You were right. The paycheck dropped. Well, I don't know what to say other than thank you. Actually, ACP O'Neill, I've got a question for you, because support is absolutely amazing. And I mean, in today's show, you've been the top. So if you haven't, let me actually show you guys this. I've got two more YouTube videos to go through, but I want to address this right now. So if you head on over, I'm just going to type it in here quickly. If you go, I see my green screen's not working so well in the corner down there. I'll have to fix that. If you go to the website www.greatgamemaster.com, you will see, this is our website for all of our channel stuff. So you can find all our different episodes. There's stuff there that talks about Gen Con and the events that I'm running at Gen Con, sort of videos that have come out recently, of course, and Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Importantly, you want to scroll through past all of this kind of stuff. What's that? I don't know what that is. If you scroll through all of this stuff, you're looking for the page that says here, welcome to the MHS Second Chance, Treasure Hunt or Join the Crew. If you go to Join the Crew, you will see here, apart from my terrible green screen, I'm so sorry about that, you will see here that you have a chance of entering in an NPC name, a race, and a class. These are all, they're not required, just the name is, though. And then you can jot on your email, and then you get added to this wonderful crew. Now, this is the crew of the Second Chance. This is the players that are running in my Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign. More importantly, is here are all of the characters that have been made and named so far. There are quite a lot of them. Some of them I won't use, like PZ99. Okay, that's obviously some computer entering it in. Great. But there are hundreds of NPCs here. This is not me being a lazy DM. Okay, it is me being a lazy DM. I will never have to come up with NPC names ever again. Ever again. Redmore. I mean, this sounds so cool. Redmore, Ghoul, Guile, I suppose. Guile, yes, Guile in English. Aiden, Dwinledeth. I think it's really, really cool. Anyway, so this is a resource. You guys can go and get these names as well, by the way, because they're here. They're on the website. They're not locked away. But ACP, I would ask, if you would, where the hell am I going? I've got to get away from there first. I would ask if you would give me an NPC name, which I will use in this upcoming stream as a small way of saying thank you for your amazing support on this. Because I think I have to say thank you somehow. I'm not sure how. If you are part of the Patreon group, there are adventures that come out every month. So yeah. ACP, give me an NPC name and a race if you like, and I will try and edit into tomorrow's game. So there you are. Okay, next two YouTube videos to go through. I've lost the page now. The next one. Now, this is one that I am part of, not just because part of them are... It's an interesting space, I think, anyway. The next YouTube video, for 150 experience points. Dungeon Fog Project Deos. Reveal number 2. You can find that on their YouTube video, Dungeon Fog Project Deos, Reveal number 2. Now, why do I talk about this? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Dungeon Fog has been a sponsor of How to Be a Great GM for a long time. We are more than sponsors. We are friends. We have drunk beer together. We talk nonsense. We hang out. We play games. They help me. I help them. It's a wonderful space. Project Deos is going to do this, but not in that sort of sense of 3D. It's going to do it in terms of making all sorts of amazing things. And it's not just cities. There's so much more coming to it. So they're busy building up towards a major event, a major Kickstarter launch, which is coming up in July. So watch out for that. There's going to be some more stuff coming through as well. Nonetheless, this is where you learn a little bit more about that particular project. So if you're a map maker, it's definitely something to have a look at, without a doubt. Then finally... this is not something that's new. This is not something that's new. It's fairly old, as a matter of fact, and it's something to think about, it's something to cogitate, to ruminate upon. White Tiger, thank you for that. I think you were asking me a question, actually, about being a patron and not being in the credits at the end of the YouTube channel. I usually try and put together 4 weeks worth of shows where I do the credits for 4 weeks and then those just sort of play out. We did have a bit of a rumble confusion thing with Fantasy Grounds joining us as sponsors as well as Q Workshop joining us as sponsors, so there was a bit of a delay. So if it was you, and if you did ask the question of why are you not yet in the credits, watch from next week, he said, trying to remember where the videos were. Watch from next week, you should be there. By now, all of our Patreons from a certain tier get listed in the credits of our YouTube shows because they help make them happen. But anyone who watches the channel and shares helps make the show happen. So bear that in mind. Okay, last YouTube video for you to have a look at. Are you aware? Now, God, I can't. It's so weird. I'm so conscious of the fact that anything I say seems like it's being paid for, and it's not. But are you aware of the new YouTube Music platform that has launched, where you can listen to music from YouTube rather than having to go to YouTube to listen to music too? I was also confused when they launched it. I was like, wait, what? I use YouTube to listen to music while I'm working on stuff. So when I'm writing something or when I'm drawing something or doing whatever it is, I have music going. Sure. But then YouTube Music came out, and it's like, well, then you don't have to go to YouTube itself. You can go to YouTube Music. Now, I know why they're doing this. If I am busy listening to music on YouTube, their algorithms and things, I think I'm watching video, whereas I'm just listening to the music. And they have done a thing where it's like, are you still listening because you're not watching, the screen's not changing, all that kind of stuff. Anyway. And yeah, so, and there are other programs out there, as has been said. Spotify, for example, is there. iTunes is there, or just good old-fashioned CDs and the like. Maybe that's just me. So, something to think about. If you don't listen to this kind of music, have a listen to it, because it's written very specifically to help tell stories better. So if there is music out there that helps tell stories better, isn't it something that you should be adding to your repertoire as a game master? I think it is. So have a look at Jerry Goldsmith on YouTube. He's written, well, he has passed away recently, but he wrote music for decades. One of my favorite composers, and wrote such a diverse range of stuff. You've got horror music with the Alien soundtrack he wrote. You've got comedy music with Gremlins 2. You've got adventure music with The Mummy. You've got mystical Asian-esque type of stuff with Mulan. Anyway, there's no real channel to watch unless you are on YouTube Music, in which case you type in Jerry Goldsmith and you can subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's not his YouTube channel, I think it's someone who's created it in his name, but it's got all of his music there and you can listen to it and it's absolutely awesome. So that would be something to have a look at, is try out listening to composers of soundtracks. And the soundtracks are going to help inspire you to tell different stories or maybe enhance your stories. I did a whole series on how to use music in your games to make your games better. But sometimes just having the music in the background really, really works to encourage, inspire, and maybe get you to reminisce a little bit about the film itself. I didn't see if ACP sent through a NPC name. If you did, please repost it. If anyone else saw it, please repost it so that I can add it. I can add it to the list. Right. I see there's some questions about Discord. What is the name of the Discord? If you want to join our Discord server, we have become partners now, so it's very simple. Discord.gg. That's their link system. Discord.gg/greatgm. And that gives you access to our Discord server where there are 3,500 users. And it's absolute chaos. It's really, 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 really awesome. So there you are. Right. Last few questions. If anyone's got any questions, let me know. Just drop it into to chat and we'll go on that. We'll answer those questions there. Jerry Goldsmith. Just add an L after the O there. Special MMO speed dancing. And you have got it. All right. So... Bite Collister, human gunslinger obsessed with the abyss. Okay, I'll take Bite Collister because I like that. I'll take him as a human. I'm not sure gunslingers fit into the Ghost of Saltmarsh space, but he could be a crossbow slinger. Maybe, something like that. Anyway, we'll see. If you watch tomorrow night, I will try to work in Bite Collister, human... hunter obsessed with abyss. I'm actually going to change the abyss, ACP O'Neill. I don't know if you watch The Ghost of Saltmarsh, but I'm going to change that to the Pit of Golgur. The Pit of Golgur, which is an abyss. It's a bottomless pit in the middle of the Azure Sea. But there you go. Angus Boys asks, what's your take on having a king/kingdom that hates magic in a setting where gods walk the earth and healing magic exists? It certainly could be there. I would almost argue that the king has perhaps had a bad experience with religion or with deities and the like. And so as a result, there's this unnecessary animosity. I'm being sidetracked by Verafortis. Verafortis, for those of you in Twitch, says, Bite Collister gets eaten by a shark. Did the shark take a bite of bad cholesterol? Yeah, there we go. I like it. A kingdom that ignores the gods is going to be difficult to rationale. Why do the gods not intervene in the kingdom? If they are walking the earth, why don't they walk up to the king and say, we are gods, you will worship us, or die? And the king goes, I don't worship you. Dead. Answer that question and find an interesting adventure in that answer. And I think that will then help you to position it so that it works better in your campaign. And so that your players feel as if it makes more sense rather than it's just because the GM wants it to be so. All right, something to ponder there. Let's see. Last question from Nathan Wilcox. Nathan Wilcox's last question. Oh dear. What do you think of Nightshield, the Warforged fallen paladin who is on a journey to become more human? Well, Nathan Wilcox, I think that is a very solid narrative to look at. Star Trek has explored it multiple times with Vulcans trying to become more human, humans trying to become more human, androids trying to become more human. You go to Wizard of Oz where you have Tin Man trying to get his heart so that he becomes more human. I certainly think that it's definitely an option. It's definitely something to explore and unpack. I would also make sure that you play it how Star Trek did it. The desire to become more human never overrides the main plot. So it's happening in the background. Occasionally it takes center stage, but that's hopefully when the GM then tries to put focus onto your character's backstory, and then your character can explore it a little bit more. But never let your character's stuff overshadow the main story, because you're disrupting the story for everybody else in favor of your one character. Let the GM kind of throw it out to you, and then you can take it from there. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of today's stream. Thank you all for participating. I cannot thank you enough for the donations, the bits and pieces that came through. I am truly I thank you all. Your questions were amazing. Your creativity in the creative writing challenge was just awesome. And if I don't see you tomorrow night for Ghosts of Saltmarsh, or tomorrow afternoon, I should say, that's 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or Pacific Daylight Savings Time, 1 p.m. tomorrow, or Saturday for some of you, or tonight. I'm not sure when it is. Anyway, it's on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Deal with it. It's already Saturday afternoon for me, so my time zones are all over the place. Until then, thank you for keeping me company, and I look forward to seeing you either at Ghosts of Saltmarsh or at next week's stream when... well, we just carry on more with RPG chaos. Until then, I wish you all the very happiest of gaming.